My wife cheated and denied a paternity test, so I left. 3 years later, she wanted child support. I said no proof, no payment. My wife cheated on me and refused to take a paternity test, so I walked away. Fast forward 3 years, and suddenly she was asking for child support. I told her straight up, no test, no money. Hey Reddit, I'm Ethan. 3 years ago, 4 simple words flipped my entire life upside down. It's not your baby. But let me rewind a bit. Back then, I was 30 years old, married to a woman named Sophie. We'd been together for 5 years. We first met back in college. Sophie was intense, sharp-witted, full of fire, and insanely smart. She challenged me in ways that made me feel more alive than I ever had. People looked at us like we were the golden couple. We had our inside jokes, a playlist of our songs, and we used to daydream together about the kids we'd one day raise. So when she told me she was pregnant, I honestly thought it was the beginning of our next big adventure. We'd been trying off and on, so when the news came, I was thrilled. She, on the other hand, seemed distant, nervous, she said. I figured it was just hormones talking. I didn't think too much of it. But soon after, things started feeling off. She got weird about her phone. Changed all her passwords. Started saying she was just tired, or that I was crowding her. The closeness we once shared, those little gestures, like her reaching for my hand during a movie or curling into me at night, just vanished. She started coming home late more and more. Naturally, I blamed myself. I thought maybe I wasn't doing enough, maybe I was slipping somehow. I even asked her if she was okay. She bit my head off. Accused me of being paranoid. But then, a buddy of mine, Matt, mentioned seeing her late at night at a bar, laughing and having drinks with some guy who definitely wasn't me. She told me she was at her sister's that night. When I asked her about it, she lost it. Turned the whole thing on me. "You're accusing me of cheating while I'm carrying our baby?" she screamed. Then came the crying, the yelling, the doors slamming. I felt like the worst person alive. I apologized again and again. Begged for forgiveness. And things settled down, for a little while, anyway. Then the baby was born. A gorgeous little girl. But Sophie didn't want me in the delivery room. She said she needed space, that she felt trapped. It hurt like hell, but I didn't argue. I just wanted to be there, for her, for the baby. I waited outside that hospital for 6 long hours, pacing like an idiot, holding flowers like I was in some cheesy rom-com. When I finally saw the baby, something didn't sit right. It wasn't the way she looked. Babies can resemble anyone. But deep in my gut I just knew. It was this heavy, gnawing feeling I couldn't shake. My instincts were screaming at me, so I asked for a paternity test. That's when she blew up. Said I was attacking her character, destroying her trust. Accused me of being controlling, manipulative, even abusive. Told me I had no right to question her or the child. I said, "If you've got nothing to hide, why not just take the test?" She flat out refused. Wouldn't even consider it. I didn't leave right away. I stayed another 2 weeks trying to make sense of it all, trying to talk to her. I pleaded. I wept. I told her I'd still be there for the baby, no matter what the test said. I just wanted the truth. But she doubled down. Then she blocked my number. Told her family I was mentally unstable. Next thing I knew, I was slapped with a restraining order. Just like that, everything I'd built disappeared. 3 years went by. I packed up and moved to another city. Threw myself into work. I didn't date, couldn't. I didn't know how to trust anymore. But I worked hard. Built a quiet little life for myself. I stopped checking her social media. Stopped hoping she'd come clean. Then one day, out of the blue, a letter landed in my mailbox. Family court. Sophie was suing me for child support. I actually laughed, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe the nerve. 3 years of silence. Of healing. Of sitting with shame and working through it in therapy. And now she wanted money? I called her, the first time I'd heard her voice in years. "I want what I'm owed," she said coldly. I took a deep breath and gave her the answer I'd practiced 1,000 times in my head. No proof, no payment. She scoffed. You're unbelievable. No, I said. I just want what any man would want, the truth. The court date came fast. Sophie showed up with a lawyer and this smug look, like she had the whole thing in the bag. Told the judge I had walked out on her and our kid. She spun this whole narrative, called me a deadbeat, said our daughter was heartbroken I wasn't around. Claimed the little girl asked every day why her daddy didn't love her. It made me sick. It was all a show, all an act. But I kept my mouth shut. Then my lawyer stood up and requested a paternity test. She objected immediately. Said I didn't deserve one. But the judge saw through the drama. He ordered the test. 2 weeks later, the results came back, 0% chance I was the father. She didn't even bother to show up that day. Just her lawyer came, red in the face and ready to settle. I said no. I wanted it in writing. I wanted it official. I was not that child's father. Never had been. And you'd think I'd feel vindicated, but I didn't. Not even close. That night, I got a message on Facebook from a guy named Alex. I think we need to talk, he said. Turns out, he'd been seeing Sophie too, right around the same time I was. He didn't even know about the baby until recently. Apparently, after the court ruling, she reached out to him hoping he'd step in. He was just as blindsided as I'd been. We ended up talking for hours. Swapping stories. Lining up timelines. Everything checked out. She'd been playing both of us the whole time. Alex said she told him she was already divorcing me. Said I was abusive and dishonest. All to sell her lies. I was just the safe option, the one with a steady paycheck. The betrayal hit me all over again. Not just what she did, but how deep and long the manipulation went. She fooled everyone. A month later, I mailed Alex the paternity paperwork. I don't know what he chose to do after that. It wasn't my fight anymore. Still, sometimes I think about that little girl. She didn't ask for any of this. None of it was her fault. But one thing I've made peace with, I didn't abandon anyone. All I ever wanted was honesty. I fought hard to get it. And when she refused to give it to me, I walked away. So no, I don't pay child support. Because I don't owe a dime for someone else's lie. After the ruling, after Sophie bailed on court and her lawyer packed up like he couldn't run fast enough, I tried to move on. But trauma doesn't just disappear when the gavel drops. It sticks with you. It lingers in quiet moments. In dreams. In that hesitation when someone casually asks, "Do you have kids?" I always pause before I answer. I moved again. Didn't tell a soul where I went. Even changed my number. Not because I was scared, just tired. Tired of waiting for the next ambush letter or demand. I'd played her game long enough. I needed out. I needed air. I needed peace. But healing? Healing's weird. It doesn't show up all at once. It sneaks in bit by bit. Like the first time you walk past the baby aisle at the store and don't flinch. Or when you scroll past the dating profile that says, single mom, and you don't immediately swipe left. Or when you laugh at something, and realize it wasn't forced. I even tried dating again. Eventually, I met someone new. Her name was Harper, and she was a nurse. She had this dry, sarcastic kind of humor that I really liked, and when I told her about Sophie, she didn't flinch or look uncomfortable. She just gave a small nod and said, "Yeah, women can be assholes too." It was the first time anyone had ever said that to me out loud. We took our time getting to know each other. She never pried, and I didn't dump everything on her at once. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I could breathe. One night, about 6 months into dating, we went to this cozy little coffee shop near her place. We were laughing, actually laughing, and man, I hadn't realized how much I missed that. Then this tiny girl, maybe 3 or 4, dropped her juice box right by our table. I leaned down, picked it up, and handed it back with a smile. She gave me this big grin and said, "Thank you, mister." before skipping away like nothing happened. Harper smiled at me and said softly, "You'd make a great dad, you know." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I glanced at her, then quickly looked away. My hands balled into fists under the table. She noticed right away. "Hey," she said gently. "I didn't mean to." "No, it's okay." I cut her off. "Really? It's just complicated." So I told her. Not just about the court and the test, but the emotional wreckage. The guilt that came with walking away from a child I once believed was mine. The way I still wondered if I should have stayed longer, fought harder, done something different. She reached across the table, took my hand in hers, and said, "You didn't leave a child. You left a lie." I wanted so badly to believe her. But part of me still held on to the weight, even if I never should have had to carry it. A year went by. And for once, things felt solid. I had a dog now. Harper moved in. I even got a promotion at work. Life felt like it was moving again, slowly, but surely, like frozen ground finally thawing after a brutal winter. Then came the knock on the door. It was a Saturday morning. Nothing out of the ordinary. I figured it was a neighbor or someone delivering a package. Instead, there was a woman standing there. Late 60s, I'd guess. Dressed neatly, with gray hair pulled into a tidy bun and a small gold cross resting on her chest. "Ethan Jennings?" she asked. "Yes," I replied, cautious. "I'm Margaret. Sophie's mother." My stomach turned. I hadn't seen her since before the whole mess with the baby. She used to adore me, once called me the son she never had. But after I asked for the paternity test, she completely cut me off. Never even acknowledged the letter I wrote trying to explain. I cracked the door open just a little. "What do you want?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Can I come in? Please. I just need a minute." I hesitated, then stepped aside. She sat quietly at the kitchen table, her hands shaking slightly around a cup of tea she never touched. "She's gone," she said softly. I blinked. "What?" "Sophie. 2 weeks ago. Car accident. She'd been drinking. Hit a guardrail. They said it was instant." I had no idea what to feel in that moment. Relief? Grief? Anger? Nothing seemed right. "I'm sorry," I said. It was the only thing I could think of. She nodded slowly. "I wasn't sure if I should come. But I thought you should know. About her. And about." She paused. "Ava." That name hit me like a punch to the chest. I hadn't heard it spoken in years. "She's 5 now," Margaret said quietly. "I'm raising her. Sophie made me her legal guardian." I didn't say anything. I just stared at her. "She thought if anything happened, I'd know what to do," Margaret continued. "But the truth is, I don't. I'm too old for this." She wiped at her eyes. "She's a sweet girl. So bright. But she's starting to ask about her father." I leaned back in my chair. "I'm not her father." Margaret gave a small nod, brushing away a tear. "I know. I know that now." There was a long silence between us before she spoke again. "She left something," she said. "A letter. It was addressed to you." She pulled a worn envelope from her purse, my name written across it in Sophie's handwriting. My chest tightened at the sight of it. I took the letter, holding it for a long moment before opening it. "Ethan, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm sorry. I lied to you. Again and again. I don't even know how to explain why I did it. Fear, selfishness, shame, take your pick. When I found out I was pregnant, I honestly didn't know who the father was. But I convinced myself it was you, because you were the only person who ever loved me without conditions. I thought maybe if I could just hold on to that love, maybe everything else would fall into place. When you asked for the test, I hated you. Because it meant facing what I already knew. I wanted to hurt you for that. And I did. Way more than you deserved. Ava isn't yours. But I gave her your last name. I even told her once that her daddy was brave, and kind, and strong. I just didn't tell her the reason he wasn't around was me. Please don't forgive me. But maybe, if you ever meet her, don't let her believe you didn't care. You always cared. Even when I didn't deserve it. Sophie. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the paper. Harper came home later and found me still sitting at the table. The letter in one hand. The tea Margaret hadn't touched in the other. "What happened?" she asked softly. I handed her the letter. She read through it. Then looked up at me and said, "What are you going to do?" I didn't have an answer. Not right then. But 2 weeks later, I found myself at a small park on the east side of town. Margaret was sitting on a bench. And next to her was a little girl, with curious eyes and dark curls. She looked up at me, then turned to her grandmother. "Is that the man from the letter?" she asked. Margaret nodded. The little girl looked back at me. "Hi," she said a little shyly. "I'm Ava." I smiled. And this time, it wasn't forced. "Hi, Ava," I said. "I'm Ethan." She grinned. "That's a nice name." And just like that, I sat down beside her. No, I didn't owe child support. I didn't owe Sophie a damn thing. But maybe, just maybe, I could offer something real to the little girl who got caught in the wreckage of our mistakes. Not as her father, but as the man who once thought he was, and still chose to show up.